Today a racist man who used to torment me as a kid came into my business to ask for a job. What was the longest you've waited for karma to kick in? Family karma here. When I was about 8 and my brother was 11, he got in trouble for punching a kid in the face on the school bus. My brother claims he was defending someone else. I don't really remember it all that clearly. My brother paid the price, was banned from the bus for a while, faced repercussions at school, and my mom made him apologize to the kid he punched in person. A couple of months after the incident, the mother of the kid he punched decided to flip the crazy switch and sued my parents for mental anguish, claiming that her son now had crippling emotional problems stemming from the incident. She showed up at board meetings, tried to get my brother expelled, painted a picture of my family as shady and my brother as a delinquent and violent. My parents ended up escaping the legal battle with a little bit of dignity intact, but feeling ostracized in our community of 90 people. Fast forward, I'm now 27, my brother is 30. My mom sends a newspaper clipping to him in the mail. It's the indictment of the crazy mom from our childhood. Come to find out, she had been embezzling money from her employer for 5 years, totaling more than $50,000. May have taken 2 decades, but she finally got what was meant for her. TLDR, brother punch kid, kid's mom sued my family for mental anguish. 20 years later, kid's mom goes to jail for embezzling. My college roommate secretly slept with my boyfriend while I was at class for a year. I routinely took more than a full course load and was in math science classes or study groups every morning. One day I walked in on them screwing when class was cancelled. Moved out. More angry at her than heartbroken. Lost most of my friends through the breakup. Fast forward 5 years later, those two throw a crazy expensive engagement party at the guy's parents' beach house, attended by some still mutual friends. She caught him boning one of the waitresses for the catering company in a bathroom before the toasts. They still got married. Like OP, I feel a little bad for her despite the karma balance. She feels like she can't do better than being with a cheater. He is rich, though. My mom treats me worse than my younger brothers, and it eventually always bites her in the ass. My favorite is the time she saw it coming. See, when we were teens, my brothers were always allowed to borrow my mother's car, but I wasn't. My grandmother even warned my mother that she would need me one day and I'd tell her no. Mom blew her off because why would she need me, and it's not in my nature to say no. Fast forward a few years later when I have a car and my mom gets into an accident that leaves her temporarily carless. Mom never asked to borrow my car even though she wanted to because she knew I had every right to say no, and she admitted it and apologized because she screwed herself over not being nicer to me as a teen. The thing is, it's not in my nature to say no. If she had asked, I would have said yes. Her guilt was the karma. A guy I went to high school with friended me on Facebook. He was caught stealing from my house once back then, bragging about it to mutual friends, whom he thought would not tell me. After the incident we never spoke, although we had the same circle of friends. I kept my distance, he kept his. Flash forward 20 years to now and we were friends on Facebook. I have a pretty cool job in the music industry, good money and I travel the world. I usually add these former friends just so they can see my life turned out pretty awesome while most of them are in our old hometown working sheet jobs. Anyway. He updated his status saying that he was devastated that someone stole something from his son and karma this, blah blah blah. Amongst all the posts from his friends being sorry for him, I simply wrote something like yeah, it's really terrible when someone steals from you eh? That must really suck. Karma does have its way of evening things out though. I immediately started getting PMs from mutual friends congratulating me, who remembered the incident in school. He unfriended me after that to my extreme pleasure. TLDR karma eventually 20 years later. I befriended a larger redheaded girl when I was in grade 3 or 4. She was new to the school, everyone had their own friends and no one accepted her. I didn't have many friends so I gladly accepted her. We became best friends. Fast forward to middle school. She was still large but got bobs and wore makeup, so she became popular. I was still a way too tall and too thin awkward girl with a lisp. Everyone made fun of me and she joined in so she could be cool. It got worse and worse until she started instigating it, would circle beat me with other girls and egg my house. Fast forward again to high school. I filled out a bit and got better friends. About halfway through grade 11 people started realizing how mean and fake she had become and turning on her. She was crying in the hall one day and I went up to her, asked if she was okay and offered my phone to her if she needed to call her mom. She transferred schools for grade 12 because she was being bullied. Funny thing is, I still feel bad for her. Bullying sucks. TL. Dr. Bully was shitty, eventually became bullied. This didn't happen to me but it happened to my uncle and I still think it's fucking hilarious every time I hear it. My uncle is a really smart guy, the kind of kid that doesn't have to try in school at all. Unfortunately, this made this one other kid, let's call him Bob, see my uncle as a target for bullying. So he got bullied from basically 6th through high school. However they parted ways and he went to UCLA and later UCLA med school. Fast forward 30 something years, my uncle's now 50 and so is his bully. He's living in the Bay Area when what do you know but his high school bully was the one he was seeing that day. I was told that they both recognized each other but the bully kind of blew it off and kind of acted like they were old chums in middle school or high school. Anyways Bob came in because he had a little lump on his gonads and after an examination my uncle, did I mention he's an oncologist, gets to tell him that he has testicular cancer. Bob apparently reacts by getting angry and saying that he's lying because of all the bullying. Uncle tells him it's for real. Bob gets a second opinion. Second opinion says same thing. Bad luck Bob. To this day my uncle is still kind of ashamed of himself for finding so much joy in telling him the news. TL. Doctor my uncle was bullied and eventually became a doctor and got to tell his high school bully that he had testicular cancer. I was one of the least popular kids in my high school by far. I was too nerdy for even the nerds to hang out with. I spent most of my time with the outcasts. I knew it was bad but I had a crush on a football player. Can you blame me? What nerd didn't? I decided for once to take charge and do something for myself. I asked him out. He laughed in my face and told me I was too ugly for anyone to ever date. Called me Crowface, which was a lovely nickname that caught on for a long time. Because of this, I had such awful self-esteem that well into my 20s, I still couldn't ask anyone out and even now still get too embarrassed sometimes. He ruined my self-esteem completely. After high school I began doing modeling gigs and cosplay events. I felt great and looked amazing. Not too long after these shoots started popping up online, he messaged me on Facebook telling me how gorgeous I looked and that he should have never said no to me at all. I then got to calmly explain to him the years of self-esteem issues I'd suffered from him and how I always pictured him humiliating me in front of our high school anytime I wanted to ask someone out. TL. Dr. Crush told me I was too ugly for anyone. Now I model and he's alone with a beer belly. In 8th grade, age 13-14, this kid threw a wooden block at me, probably thinking, oh, let's pick on the punk girl. That'll be so hysterical. I blacked out for a good 10-15 seconds after it clocked me in the head. When I came to, he and his friends were all on the ground laughing at how funny this was. I ended up having to go to urgent care and not participate in gym class for a few days. His mom was on the school board and had a large role in the financial decisions of the school, so the administration was afraid to punish him and did nothing. My math teacher was this kid's football coach and made him run extra while everyone else got to take a food-water break, but that was the only justice I got. Fast forward 2 years, everyone is freaking out that this guy can't play football for the JV team that year. He ended up spraining his back and breaking a few ribs from a drunken escapade into the woods the week before his sophomore year started, and the concussion that he sustained from this was severe enough that a second concussion could have caused serious mental damage. 2 years isn't that long of a time, but considering there were witnesses and the kid should have been arrested and suspended at the very least, it seemed like a long time. It's been 6 years and counting since this dumb girl from high school threatened me with text messages and then broke into my house and stole everything of monetary and sentimental value to both myself and my mother. She never saw any kind of legal repercussion or faced any consequences. I'm still waiting for her to die in a fire or lose her job or something. I had a guy that used to pick on me for no reason in high school. He was a bit bigger, older, and was a wrestler. We tussled once when I had had enough of his shit, but it got broke up by teachers before it got too far. The guy just didn't like me and was relentless. Honestly, he scared me. When I was 37, I got divorced and took up Muay Thai. Over the course of the next 2 years I got myself into ridiculously good shape. I was 5 feet 11 and 190 pounds of hard muscle with lots of martial skills. I rented a house I owned to a single mom with the same last name as the dude that tormented me. A couple of months later I was visiting her to take care of a few maintenance issues at the house, and I walked up to the door, and he opened it. I stared at him for a full minute. He was much smaller than I remembered. In fact, he was struggling with heroin and the look on his face was priceless. It was his sister that had rented from me. Well, he recognized me, knew immediately that I could easily wipe my ass with him. You could tell the look of fear, at least I could, because that dude used to scare the shit out of me all the time. He meekly held out his hand. I took it, almost crushed it, then just gave him a big bear hug and a little nudgy. It was a guy's way of letting him off the hook. I think he would have rather had his ass beat. Sometimes, the best revenge is just landing on your feet. A high school bully humiliated me on the bus. I was the last stop on the bus, so there was always a lack of seats. I got on the bus and spotted one empty seat next to someone. I walked over and sat next to him. He turned to me and said, "I didn't say you could sit there." I replied there were no other seats. I guess he didn't care, because he repeated his previous statement. I just ignored him. Then he shouted at the top of his lungs, "Get the duck out of my seat." I was taken aback. I couldn't believe he just shouted that on the bus at me. The situation felt surreal. I saw everyone on the bus start to look in my direction. I froze up. I started weighing my options. I knew I couldn't take this guy in a fight. He was ducking crazy, as you should be able to tell from this situation. As I'm still pondering what to do, he shouts again. I said, "Get the duck out of my seat." Then before I can find a way out, he kicks me out of the seat. I stand up in the middle of the bus and I'm met with roaring laughter from all the other kids on the bus. The bully stands up ready to fight, and I just walk away. Even if I was able to beat him in a one-on-one fight, I knew he was the type to come back the next day with 5 of his friends to beat you to pulp. I walked to the back of the bus and sat in the half seat with the mentally challenged kid. I wasn't about to let things end like that though. So, I planned for my revenge. I started catching the city bus to school, instead of the school bus, to avoid further humiliation. Things blew over eventually and everyone forgot about that incident, but I didn't. I waited until one day, I saw that bully on the bus with a grill lighter smoking weed up. Then he took the grill lighter and smacked a guy in the face with it, and he started crying. I knew this was my chance. I created an anonymous email address and sent an email to my school officials. I told them about the bully smoking weed on the bus and smacking that kid in the face with a grill lighter. I made sure not to say anything that could give my identity away. That way, no one would know who tattled. The school investigated the issue and found the evidence they needed from eyewitness testimonies on the bus. That bully was expelled from school and I was free to ride the bus in peace. TLDR: bully humiliated me on the bus, so I anonymously got him expelled from school. It's been roughly 2 years for me. After my first love broke up with me, my self-esteem took a huge hit. I felt insecure, like a terrible person, like I ruined everything good around me, etc. These insecurities manifested themselves in low self-esteem with regards to my body image. I recently started getting drunk in text message from my ex. After a while they progressed to him trying to get me to come visit him. Once I agreed to drive the 2 hours it takes to go see him, But then he cancelled, saying he would be embarrassed for his friends to know we had hung out because I was such a terrible person. I stopped being nice and polite, but he continued to drunkenly text me. I should also mention, as it's relevant to the story, that my ex's life dream is to be on TV and be famous. Then 2 weeks ago I was driving to a music festival up in Michigan when I decided to check my email. I found out I'd been one of 6 girls, out of an original 250 from my region, to move on to the next round of interviews for the casting of a new modeling show. I'd applied and sent in pictures of myself on a whim. I hadn't really expected anything to come of it since I'd only done some amateur modeling in middle school. I was absolutely besides myself with happiness. I felt confidence like I hadn't felt in 2 years. I felt damn good. But it gets better. When I returned home I was shopping at a fancy local boutique when the owner approached me and asked me if I'd had any modeling experience. Then he asked me to come in for a photo shoot for their online catalog they were launching. I went in for the photo shoot and it was amazing. I felt on top of the world. Shit like this does not happen to me. I like to think that the world is paying me back tenfold in karma for having to deal with so many self-esteem problems stemming from this one guy and this one breakup. Also, who's embarrassed now, asshole? Edit, took out the name of the show. Second edit, some people asked for a headshot, so here is the one I submitted. A boy at school, name redacted due to fellow redditor now knows me worked it out, was an absolute asshole to me and my group of friends. I was raised as a fairly introverted kid, and thus gravitated to people of a like mind. He could basically smell the pacifism on us and exploited it to no end. Kicked the crap out of my friends and I every chance he got, humiliated us in front of the class, basically assigned us to the lowest social rungs for most of our schooling year. The relentless intimidation and thuggery reduced me to start hiding in my shell. I would prefer to read in the library than play or eat during lunch, lest his roaming bring us into contact again. Without a word of a lie, I read over 300 novels by the time I had finished school, and had sparked a lifelong obsession with literature. My own bio father was a bully and violent, and it burned into me a deep-seated hatred of anyone who resorts to preying upon the weak. Daily I would fantasize about murdering him, or at least crippling him so he could know what it is like to be helpless. It is wrong, I know, but until you are in that situation, you never know. Leaving school and going to uni led me to be a much more confident person, and slowly learned that you can be confrontational without someone being violent to you. Fast forward to some 8 years after school. One Friday afternoon he walked into my place of business looking for something we sell, and, due to the nature of our business, revealed that since leaving school, he had been caught stealing a car, gone to juvenile prison, due to age, got busted for drug possession, more convictions etc. and been living at no fixed address. I am in Australia, so the courts can be pretty weak and forgiving sometimes. Not that I care in this case. That he got some punishment is enough for me. We were his last chance for this particular product. Before you judge too quickly, we had been at a fairly expensive private school, so he wasn't exactly a down on his luck hobo to begin with. He had just never once stopped making bad decisions despite the opportunities given to him. I projected an outwardly professional demeanor, internally gladly and gleefully, and denied him service, and sent him dejectedly on his way. I was required by policy, and had no actual authority over the choice, but it still felt good. The best part? He didn't recognize me. He looked at the man serving him, and only saw a man. I had grown and changed so much, and he had stayed exactly the same. Looking back, it may be bad karma for me to take such pleasure in this. However, it gives me hope that sometimes the bad guy loses in the films and in real life. I suffered a ducked up school social life for 8 years because of him, and do not regret feeling some schadenfreude at his demise. TLDR bully at school ended up as a criminal with no future, whereas I survived and moved on to a bigger and better life. I was a really small freshman in high school, like 5 feet 2 inches, and looked like I was probably 12. I was always picked on for being the smallest. I transferred to a private school and fast forward 3 years and I go to a party with all the kids from my old school. I see one of the kids that always had it out for me because he was bigger at the time. I'm now 6 feet 1 inches, obviously a lot bigger than before. So he talks some shit to me and I give it back. He shoves me and without even thinking I one punch code this bag in front of about 80 people. Everyone thought I was a ducking hero and then smoked some bowls with old friends. Great night. This is less of a bully got justice story and more of a nice person gets what they deserve story. There was this girl in high school who I was sort of friends with. I was in the nerd group and taking lots of AP and college prep courses, while she was in the more basic courses, so we really only saw each other occasionally. She got picked on by a lot of the cool kids and she had a pretty crappy home life too. By senior year I think her shitty parents had either kicked her out or she had decided to leave them. Once I went to college I lost track of her. She friended me on FB a few years ago. By now all the cool kids that picked on her are fat, saddled with kids, living in the same crap town that we all grew up in, with boring jobs. Which may be what they wanted in life, but I'll admit that to me their lives seem pretty lame. She, on the other hand, is living it up in Nick, making fabulous art. She does glass blowing, metal work, photography and film, and has even worked with some famous actors. Most famous would be the Dexter guy, has tons of awesome artsy buddies, and is having the time of her life. She totally deserves it. TLDR, picked on loner goes on to fabulous Nick artsy life while bullies get fat, have kids, and stay in crappy hometown. 24 years ago I was a freshman in high school. A young woman in my graduating class was gangly, wore glasses and braces, and all her classes were in special education. She was a target for bullying by classmates. When it came time for prom, a group of kids, the popular ones, of course thought it would be hilarious if this young woman was elected prom queen. When the announcement was made that she would be prom queen, she burst into tears of joy and declared, "I'm finally popular." That's when the popular kids decided to let her in on their prank. She fled the school in tears. The principal and other administrators soon learned about the prank and pulled the entire freshman class into the gymnasium. "If this ever happens again," he vowed, "none of you will graduate high school." 2 beautiful events occurred. 1. The female senior track team took the young woman out for a makeover and dress fitting so she would look extraordinary for prom. 2. No one in my class anticipated the young woman's mom coming to the school to meet directly with the principal and the administration. What the offending students in my class didn't stop to consider was that her mom was drop dead gorgeous, and that it would only follow suit that someday, their perceived ugly duckling would grow into a swan as graceful as her mother. My 20-year high school reunion is this summer, and I would only attend if this young woman made an appearance as the gorgeous woman I know she is today. All of this happened when my dad was transferred to another state for work, so all of this was told to me by my friends when I returned the next year as a sophomore. My bitch of an English teacher in my 11th grade high school English class ducked my entire life over in some strange way. She basically accused me of plagiarizing a paper in class. Honest to God, I did not do it. She called me a liar to my face, and ruined a lot of my life for a few good years. She reported the incident to the administration, and she tried to make them take legal action. But all I ended up getting was expulsion. My school took this stuff really seriously. In the long run, it basically caused me to lose 5 or 6 scholarships that I really needed for college. I ended up having to go to community college. Nothing wrong with it, but she basically killed any chances I had at become a doctor. Childhood dream. Spent all of high school prepping for it. I got most of my general stuff out of the way, and I have a great job now giving out loans at a bank. It pays well enough, but I don't live any grand life, and I am not a doctor. On top of that, most of my friends made fun of me for years about it. 1 year after she accused me, her husband cheated on her. The year after I graduated, she got fired for being drunk on the job. About a month ago, the best thing ever happened. Guess who walked into the bank and asked for an extension on the loan she just recently took out to pay for her house? And guess who got the extension denied? Needless to say, karma related or not, it was one of the highlights of my life. TLDR, bitch of a teacher messed up my chances at med school. She got cheated on, fired, and now begged me to give her a loan for her house at the bank I work at.